They collaborated on three famous films, despite being opposites. One was precise and ready. The other individual was demanding and hard to predict. This troubled star ruined One-Eyed Jack's, so the corporation took it away. Malden promised to see this famous actor years later when he was dying. The reply was frigid, not helpful. It ended after a difficult relationship that transformed film history. He was born in Chicago on March 22, 1912. He was born Miladin George Sekalovic, but everyone called him Karl Malden. His mother's 20th birthday was that day. His father, Petar, came from a tiny Serbian hamlet near Baleka. He brought traditions. After building in Chicago, he moved his family to Gary, Indiana. Steel mills provided constant labor. Minnie, my Czech mother, was a seamstress. She instilled her son's passion of theater. The family spoke solely Serb. He didn't speak English till school. He repeated the statement forever, even after becoming famous. Gary's Serbians were close. His parents worked in mills and preserved their traditions. He then formed the Serbian Singing Federation and the first Serbian band in America. They hosted music, religion, and tradition gatherings at their residence. Malden joined the Kara Georgia Choir alongside others. His father's local Orthodox Church Serbian concerts included him. These concerts were more than entertainment. His passion of playing came from their Serbian culture and historical traditions. He played Puba in the English Makedo play in high school. He excelled at athletics. Malden excelled in school and basketball at Emerson High School from 1927 to 1931. Basketball cost money. He was smacked in the face during games. The impacts transformed his nose forever, giving him a face Hollywood would know immediately. Nose became part of him. He was elected senior class president that year. He graduated during the Great Depression. He joined his father in the steel industry since work was scarce. It reached 120 degrees daily for him to labor 12 hours a day from 1931 to 1934. Work was risky and noisy. After 3 years, he saved $300. Everything was about money. It was his exit. He had another opportunity before Mills, a sports scholarship for Arkansas College. He did everything instructed and sold some stuff to prepare. It escaped at the last moment. The college urged him to play many sports. He declined since he only wanted to play basketball. The offer was withdrawn soon. His aspirations failed. He labored daily to save every dime. He traveled to Chicago in 1934 with $300. He risked enrolling at Goodman Theater School. He would pay immediately with all he had. A grant would be given if he did well. It works. There he studied till 1937. His mill worker employment ended when he departed. Had a role. He remained Malden Sekalovic. That shifted rapidly. Theater managers sought a simpler message. He believed they fired him. Just a name change. He got Karl from his granddad and reordered Malden's letters to make Malden. Even though it stung, he consented. Still, he kept some of himself. He employed Sekalovic in most of his films. He quietly honored his roots. His debut film role was in 1940. It had a tiny role in Carole Lombard and Charles Laughton's They Knew What They Wanted. No one noticed him since the segment wasn't crucial. The world transformed as he started. His Army Air Force's career began after Pearl Harbor. The 8th Air Force employed him from 1942 to 1946. He worked hard and became a sergeant in one of WW's toughest divisions. He even participated in Winged Victory to enhance his confidence. Play transformed into film. The war ended his sporting career, but not his passion. He resumed work at home. In 1938, he discovered love, which was more significant. Meeting at Goodman Theater, real name Mona Greenberg, stage name Mona Graham. They wed December 18, 1938. Their marriage was one of the longest in TV and film history at 70 years. 2 daughters were theirs. She supported him through little roles, an Oscar and TV celebrity. Karl Malden met Marlon Brando in a 1946 Broadway practice room, surprising him. Then Brando changed Karl's life. The play was Busline Cafe. It was a mess. It ended after 13 programs. Some called it the worst play ever, but it didn't matter. People thought of Brando. Brando portrayed a wounded soldier. He ran up and down the stairs before performing to set the mood. After that, he'd leave delighted, different from everyone else. There was no one like him. He felt people went nuts. Some fans cheered for 2 minutes before the game resumed. Screams, stomps, and yells. Crazy and amazing. Malden was there and observed everything. He saw Brando pause, strengthen his words, and manipulate the crowd like a puppet. The year's brightest rookie was Brando. Malden departed with an idea. Everything changed then. Time arrived. That distinguished him. Desire City Bus. This started in 1947. Brando played Stanley. Jessica Tandy portrayed Blanche. Mitch was Malden, the shy, polite guy who adores Blanche, but leaves after discovering her secrets. It was shown 855 times. It won Pulitzer. It earned an NYDC award. Malden's subtle act was tremendous. It was human. Everything changed for Broadway star Karl Malden in 1951. His Desire character Mitch was taken to the big screen. The film industry wasn't confident he could transition from stage to screen. Studios often substitute movie stars for athletes. Elia Kazan tried to retain Malden, Marlon Brando, and Kim Hunter. When Jessica Tandy left, Vivien Leigh took over. That option altered film history. Mitch, a bashful, lonely Blanche lover, was played by Malden. Unlike Brando's insane, furious Stanley, he was calm and honest. It was hard to film. Malden changed his actions for the camera. Everything is large on stage. Every screen shot matters. It fit him. As the movie progressed, the set was supposed to shrink to represent the character's growing stress. Malden persisted, presenting a painfully honest display. A train named Desire made movie history. The old-fashioned theater technique met the new method style that would soon dominate Hollywood. After that, the RKO Pantages Theater hosted the 1952 Academy Awards on March 20th. Malden, whose parents immigrated from Chicago, is a great supporting actor. His speech was brief and modest. He complimented Tennessee Williams and Kazan, but the time was crucial. 3 performance Oscars went to the film. Kim Hunter was Best Supporting Actress and Vivien Leigh Best Actress. Malden cheered them on. Warner Brothers gambled by adapting the play into a film. The film grossed $8 million in North America while costing $1.8 million. Now Malden was more than a play. He was a famous Hollywood actor. Father Barry, a priest who fought for justice, collaborated with Kazan and Brando again in 1954 on the Waterfront. Malden played him, drinking with dock workers, standing up to the mob. In a famous moment, he made a furious speech over a dead longshoreman, despite a forehead wound. That moment will be remembered. He went beyond acting. Every word he said moved you. The video was shot in wintry Hoboken, New Jersey. The movie seemed unclean because of its violence. In the narrative, Malden defended right and wrong. Brando portrayed Terry Malloy, who was pressured to act morally. He definitely hammered home with his comment about murdering Joey Doyle to prevent testimony. Malden sought another Oscar. He lost. His role was debated for years. It was hard working with Brando. In On the Waterfront, Brando did things his way. The gang occasionally waited after scenes, despite Kazan shouting action to prepare for Brando's return. He talked to the camera team like nothing was wrong. He'd suddenly start his lines like he was still talking. Brando remained unpredictable. even in 1953's harshest months. He arrived late. He requested adjustments. He departed early at 4 p.m. to see treatment. Sharp. Malden generally worked alone, but he was professional, paying attention, checked his scene's functionality. Strangely, that increased character tension. Their differences were great. Brando employed it. He made up phrases and responded to the situation. Malden relies on preparation. He studied at Chicago's Goodman Theater. He and Brando were 14 years apart, and from separate groups. He valued clarity and authority. Malden spoke clearly, whereas Brando stammered and changed tone. Brando produced One-Eyed Jacks in 1961, repeated scenarios with actors. Malden never complained. Despite several takes, he always performed well. Malden liked Brando's work despite their disagreement. He helped Kazan shoot a screen test with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward to demonstrate the company what type of performers Brando could work with. Malden demonstrated why Brando, not Sinatra, should portray Terry Malloy. Sinatra was employed first. Karl Malden's 1955 role startled the globe. He portrayed Archie Lee Megan in Baby Doll, and furious elderly guy loved his 19-year-old wife, who still sucked her thumb and slept in a cot. Everyone was startled when the film debuted in December 1956. Malden had done more sympathetic roles before, but this time he did something so hazardous that Cardinal Spellman preached against it. He had never attacked a movie from the altar before. The Catholic Legion of Decency condemned it. Warner Brothers later removed it. Debate made it famous. Malden's name got famous after multiple Oscar nominations. Malden constantly startling people with his varied work. He played a stern father whose stress drives his baseball player son Jimmy Piersall insane in Fear Strikes Out. 1957. People claimed they watched the movie solely to see Malden because of the acting. Then he switched gears. His 1960 Pollyanna character was the honest and compassionate Reverend Ford. He starred with Burt Lancaster in Birdman of Alcatraz for 2 years as a tough jail director. That film won Oscars, and Malden proved he could play anything. Bad fathers, pious monks, and stern officials. He transformed, not just acted. Malden reunited with Marlon Brando in 1961's One-Eyed Jacks. The plot appeared fine, but everything went wrong soon. Brando obtained the rights to a Western book and worked with Twilight Zone writer Rod Serling and young Sam Peckinpah. Stanley Kubrick was supposed to direct, but he resigned after months of fighting with Brando over sitting with a clock at a conference. After the casting struggle, it ended. Kubrick wanted Spencer Tracy as Dad Longworth. Malden was Brando's focus. After Kubrick was sacked, Brando became director for the first time. Filming was a disaster. Brando says he had no idea what he was doing in October 1958. This time he shot 6 times as much, over 1 million feet. Perfect shots were his goal. Proper lighting was crucial. Waves must impact at the proper time. Everything had to fit. The squad waited. It took ages. Los Angeles storms wrecked sets. In Death Valley, it reached 117 F. As Brando gained weight, his clothing and camera settings altered. Instead of 3 months, the shoot lasted 6. The $2 million budget became $6 million. After editing, the problem persisted. Brando endured an 8-hour cut. Paramount saw it in 1961. Shocked executives. Her father killed her in the original version. Paramount reduced the film by 4 hours and shot new scenes without Brando. The corporation replaced whole characters. Malden's role shifted, removing his hard-earned moral depth. Anger drove Brando to resign. Did not direct again. Even yet, One-Eyed Jack's photography was lauded, and the Library of Congress kept it. Malden joined another massive effort, How the West Was Won, in 1962. It was a Western with a 3-lens system that required curved screens and cost each theater $25,000 to put up. Malden played Zebulon Prescott, an outlaw father who dies in rapids. He was determined to take risks. The film grossed $50 million, despite costing $15 million. 3 of its 8 Oscars were won. Malden stood out, despite James Stewart, Debbie Reynolds, and Gregory Peck. His tragic demise became memorable. Again, he handled epics. The Cincinnati Kid was his name then. In 1965, Malden played Shooter, a famous poker player, until he was blackmailed for $12,000. One day into filming, Sam Peckinpah was sacked by the directors for his grim version. Norman Jewison led. Malden had to portray a guy torn between his principles and survival. His wife's words were used against him. It was silent, but powerful. Even with rising star Steve McQueen and renowned Edward G. Robinson, Malden never got lost in the pack. He made the gun war feel genuine, and New Orleans' grimy streets made every choice his character made more crucial. By 1970, Malden played Patton's General Omar Bradley. A modest yet crucial element. Bradley worked on the film. He disliked genuine Patton. Malden had to behave like a guy while the actual man watched. The Vietnam War era film grossed over $62 million. It was $12.6 million to manufacture. George C. Scott drove a noisy, unpredictable Patton. Malden played Bradley calmly. He proved leaders succeed by being cool, not shouting. Some commentators believed his performance gave the film its meaning. Patton's 7th Oscar, such as Best Picture, 1972, altered Karl Malden. He had a successful Hollywood business. He discovered he could play Detective Mike Stone at 60 first Saturday evenings, then Thursday nights. Malden portrayed a widower 20-year police sergeant. He mentored 28-year-old Michael Douglas police officer Steve Keller. They got along instantly. Great job, and it seemed genuine on screen. Off screen, they worked well together. They remained good friends after all these years. In 1996, Douglas named Malden the son I never had. Malden gave his all. He was nominated for 4 Emmys between 1974 and 1977, but lost. It aired 119 hour-long programs over 5 seasons. Douglas left at the start of the last season to focus on movies, lowering ratings. The play left an impression, and Malden's role became a favorite. Strange things happened in 1975. American Express picked him as its face. He sternly said, "Don't leave home without them," wearing his iconic hat. The commercials largely promoted travelers' checks and cautioned against cash loss. It works. The show was famous. Malden became more than an actor. It was created by famed ad maker David Ogilvy. Nobody could doubt him now. The new theme was "Don't leave home without it." To encourage credit card use, Malden ran the commercials for about 20 years. The most impactful thing an American Express salesperson ever said. Malden showed himself beyond a cinematic star in 1985. He portrayed Freddie Cassib in Fatal Vision. Jeffrey McDonald, who was convicted of murdering his pregnant wife and 2 children, inspired the show. Malden played the father-in-law who was deeply offended and desired punishment. His acting was forceful, disciplined, and moving. He won a small screen Emmy for Best Supporting Actor. His age was 73. He had already won an Oscar for Desire the Train in 1951 and been nominated for On the Waterfront in 1954. Emmys demonstrate he had it on TV and in film, spanning decades. Malden took a behind-the-scenes position in 1989. He ran the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. He performed that till 1992. In that period, he ran 3 Oscar shows. Being his employer required being respectful, honest, and cool. Hollywood trusted him since he worked hard and professionally for years. As Academy president, he kept it committed to its roots while adapting to the film industry. In 1997, Malden published his autobiography. It was When Do I Start? Writing with his daughter Carla. its memoir. It spanned 368 pages and chronicled his rise from Gary, Indiana youngster Miladin George Sikulovic to Oscar-winning actor. There was little conversation. It was about acting, his approach, his mentors, and his passion for the trade. He wrote about working with Marlon Brando, Lee Strasberg, and Elia Kazan. Some critics called the book honest and deep. They accomplished something bold in 1999. Malden petitioned the Academy Board for a special Oscar for Elia Kazan at 84. Kazan mentored Malden in show business and testified during McCarthyism. Hollywood debated naming former communists for years. Malden chose despite the risks. He mentioned a corpus of work. Board approved to award. Government has no role in art. Actually, it happened at the Oscars. Malden's longtime buddy Marlon Brando refused to reward Kazan. Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro intervened. Room was divided. Some celebrities cheered. Some folks sat without cheering. 250 protested outside the building. An Oscar accolade became a controversy. Malden was debating how to forget, stay faithful, and how much the truth costs. In 2000, Karl Malden made his last film. In the West Wing episode, Take This Sabbath Day, he appeared, portrayed a priest who advised on executions. The part was simple, quiet, and emotional. Great way to leave. He made his film debut in 1940. After 60 years, he ended a meaningful, honorable, and influential career. Marlon Brando has always impressed and angered Karl Malden. They collaborated on 3 major films. Desire was the 1951 street automobile. The titles were On the Waterfront in 1954 and One-Eyed Jacks in 1961. Malden witnessed Brando's talent. He watched the chaos it generated. When Brando left a scene, the performers had to wait over 2 minutes to continue. Slowed the rhythm. It affected everyone. Brando wasn't always formal and on target, unlike Malden. They grew worse in the 1960s. After the 1962 prize mutiny, director Louis Milestone labeled Brando a ham actor and spoilt youngster. Tension rose in studios. Brando was difficult to deal with, due of his reputation. Malden watched as the intelligent guy lost control of his work. Brando suffered a streak of box office failures by 1970. His early promise seems gone. Malden worked tirelessly, and it stung to watch someone so talented trash it all. Next, Brando startled everyone in 1972's The Godfather. Malden wondered, would Brando have been great if he had focused? They spoke last in 2004. He was quite ill at 80. High blood sugar, heart disease, and liver cancer plagued him. He breathed via an air mask. He said, "I keep falling over." Malden ordered him to come over. He wanted to assist. Brando replied with 3 words, "Not helpful." They never spoke again. Brando died of lack of breath 3 weeks later. On July 1st, 2004, he refused procedures that may have extended his life. He chose solitude with his dog and mate. A former Hollywood mogul died peacefully. 5 years earlier, Karl Malden died on July 1st, 2009. His age was 97. Years of declining health led to his death at home in Brentwood, Los Angeles. He was interred at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery, among celebrities. Time magazine published a tribute by longtime friend and co-star Michael Douglas. Described Malden as a revered friend. He was considered one of the greatest character actors of his period. Charles Champlin called himself a champion of all roles because he could portray any character, from a hero to a villain to a struggling worker.